The war had ended, but the silence that followed was far heavier than the sound of gunfire. Across the shattered remains of once mighty fleets, drifting wreckage and burnt stars told the story of a galaxy brought to its knees. Humanity, the species once underestimated by every other race, had stood firm through years of unimaginable loss. Now, as peace treaties were forced upon the survivors, the victors walked among the ruins of what once had been called civilization. Commander Alan Rains had seen it all. He had fought on the burning moons of the Vorel system, marched through the ruins of crystalline cities, and watched comrades vanish in flashes of light. When the ceasefire was finally signed, he returned to a galaxy that no longer knew what to do with him. Soldiers like him were relics of a brutal past. The new human administration began to reorganize the conquered territories. The defeated alien empires, once proud and mighty, were stripped of their power and made to pay reparations. Among these spoils of war were those the victors deemed property, servants, scholars, and artisans forced into human custody. Most soldiers ignored such rewards, knowing what they truly symbolized. But fate, as always, had its own plans. One cold morning, Alan received a sealed order from the Central Command. It bore the crest of the human dominion, a silver eagle over a fractured world. The message was simple. By authority of the Dominion Reconstruction Directive, you are hereby granted ownership of one registered non-human servant from the surrendered royal estate of the Lyrian Empire. Alan stared at the order for a long time. He wanted no trophies, no reminders of what the war had done. Yet refusing the directive meant challenging the government, and he had no desire to fight another battle. So he signed the document, and a week later, a small transport ship landed at his outpost on the edge of the frontier. The ramp lowered, and she stepped out. She was not what he expected. The Lyrians were a race known for their beauty, their crystalline skin and luminous eyes reflecting starlight. But this girl, no, this woman, was more than that. Her appearance carried the grace of something fragile and the silent strength of something unbroken. Her eyes, faintly glowing with shades of blue, studied him with guarded curiosity. The officer escorting her handed Alan a datapad. She's registered as Lyra, former attendant of the Lyrian royal house. Her people refused to surrender her voluntarily. Be careful, she's proud. Alan nodded, signing the confirmation. When the transport left, the silence returned, leaving only the sound of the wind across the barren plains. Do you understand where you are? Alan asked. I understand that I am in the custody of a human officer, she replied calmly. Her voice was melodic but edged with defiance. He sighed. I don't want a servant. You'll stay here, but you're free to do as you wish within the boundaries of the outpost. Her brows furrowed slightly. Free? As free as anyone can be after a war, he said. Days passed, and the two settled into an uneasy routine. The outpost was remote, a lonely structure beneath a dim sun. Alan repaired communication relays and maintained defense systems, while Lyra silently explored her surroundings. She tended to the hydroponic gardens, studied the equipment, and began restoring sections of the outpost's broken architecture. One evening, Alan found her outside, gazing at the stars. You don't sleep much, he said. I dream too much, she replied softly. When I close my eyes, I see cities burning. I hear the screams of my people. Your war took everything from us. He sat beside her, staring into the endless void. It took everything from us, too. For a long time, neither spoke. The stars above them glittered like scars on the fabric of space. Over the following weeks, Alan noticed something change. Lyra began to ask questions, not about freedom or the past, but about humanity. She wanted to understand how a species born from a single planet could defeat empires thousands of years old. Alan told her about Earth's history, about conflict and resilience, about how humans never truly stopped fighting. Even when the odds were hopeless, humans build strength from pain, he told her one evening. Every defeat becomes fuel for the next victory. That's what they never understood. Lyra listened silently, her eyes reflecting the dying light of the twin moons. You speak as though pain is a gift. Maybe it is, he said quietly. Maybe it's the only thing that reminds us we're alive. As the seasons shifted, their strange companionship deepened. Lyra began to assist Alan in repairing the communication systems. Her knowledge of alien technology surpassed anything he had seen. She moved with precision and elegance, her hands gliding over the controls as if she were conducting a silent symphony. One day, while recalibrating a power conduit, the system surged unexpectedly. Sparks flew and Alan instinctively pulled her back, shielding her from the blast. When the light faded, she looked up at him startled. "You risked yourself for me," she said in disbelief. "I'd do the same for anyone," he replied. She stared at him for a long time. "You humans are strange." "People keep saying that," he said with a faint smile. It was that moment when she realized the difference between conqueror and monster. Alan did not treat her as property. He treated her as a person, something her own kind had forgotten how to do during their centuries of dominance. Over time, rumors began to spread through the frontier colonies. They spoke of a human commander and his alien companion, who rebuilt an abandoned outpost into a thriving settlement. Traders came seeking supplies, refugees came seeking safety. Alan allowed them all to stay, and under his guidance the outpost became a haven for those forgotten by the war. Lyra became its heart. Her knowledge of alien sciences restored water systems, repaired damaged machinery, and even created sustainable energy from the planet's harsh winds. The people began to call her the Starborn Engineer. One evening, as the settlement lights shimmered across the horizon, Lyra found Alan watching from the tower. "You've given them hope," she said softly. He shook his head. "You've given them a future. I just gave them a place to stand." "You could have ruled them," she said. "You have the power of a victor, yet you choose to lead as an equal." Alan looked out toward the distant stars. "Because that's what humanity fought for. Not dominance. Just the right to choose who we become." Her gaze softened. "And what do you see in me, Alan Rains? A servant? A symbol of your victory?" He turned to her, his expression calm but sincere. "I see someone who survived as much as I have. Maybe more." For the first time she smiled, truly smiled. "Then perhaps I am free after all." Their bond grew, not from ownership or command, but from mutual respect born in the ashes of war. Lyra began to teach the settlers alien engineering, while Alan trained them in human tactics of survival. Together they forged something new, a unity that neither species had ever believed possible. Years passed, and the settlement became a beacon in the frontier, known across the recovering galaxy as the Haven of Two Suns. Envoys came from distant systems, hoping to learn from the unlikely partnership between human and Lyrian. But peace never lasted long in the galaxy. One day, sensors detected an incoming fleet. Not human, not Lyrian, something else entirely. Raiders, remnants of the old empires that refused to die. They came to plunder what the Haven had built. Alan ordered the defenses prepared. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. "We can't fight them alone," she said. "Then we'll remind them what humans and Lyrians can do together." He replied. The battle that followed was fierce. The Haven's defenses blazed against the incoming ships. Alan commanded the militia with precision, while Lyra controlled the energy grids, channeling power into newly built plasma arrays. The settlers fought with courage, inspired by the sight of the two who had once been enemies standing side by side. When the dust settled, the raiders were driven off. The Haven stood battered but unbroken. Lyra found Alan on the ramparts, his uniform scorched, his arm injured. She knelt beside him, placing her glowing hands over the wound. "You always protect everyone else," she whispered. "When will you let someone protect you?" He looked at her and smiled faintly. "Maybe now." The healing light pulsed between them, soft and steady. In the aftermath of the battle, word of their victory spread. Across the fractured galaxy, old boundaries began to fade. Humans and Lyrians started to rebuild together, inspired by the story of the commander and the servant who had become equals. Years later, when Alan grew old and the stars above the Haven dimmed with age, Lyra remained. Her kind aged slowly, their lifespan stretching far beyond human limits, but she never left the settlement they had built. Every evening she would walk to the same spot on the hill where they had first watched the stars and whisper softly, "Pain is a gift," you said. Then the memory of you must be the greatest gift of all. The Haven endured for centuries, and long after both human and Lyrian names faded into legend, stories were still told of the soldier and the servant who turned the ruins of war into the foundation of peace. For in that forgotten corner of the galaxy, among the winds of a once barren world, two souls, one human, one alien, had proven that even after the darkest of wars, hope could still be reborn.